being loud, it's the loud ones that are usually wrong. That's kind of what I'm referring to, because man, look, help desk could teach you a lot. And one of the most important things that help desk could teach you is, for one, it teaches you how to troubleshoot on the fly. Because most help desks, especially if you're working for like a internet service provider, like a cable company, everybody has a cable company because everybody has internet. Those are revolving doors. And believe it or not, they usually pay fairly well just starting out.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Textual Talk, where I'm your host, HD. Man, y'all in for a special one today, man. We got D Jax in here, aka Davin Jackson, aka Alpha Cybersecurity, and all the other monikers he probably gonna give y'all throughout the podcast. But you know, I ain't gonna hold y'all long, man. Without further ado, let's get to it.
I was gonna say, is the audio choppy on my end, or is it?
Nah, you good.
Oh, okay.
You perfect.
All right. So, so I was introducing myself. I'm sorry. So,
Yeah.
my name is Davin Jackson, also known as DJax Alpha on Instagram and Twitter. I am a pen tester, cybersecurity professional, and I run Alpha Cybersecurity, which is right now just like a media and content creation site. I blog about different cybersecurity topics, how to get into cybersecurity, pen testing, tips and tricks, or different cybersecurity things you could do in the office and at home. And I'm also the host of InfoSec Unplugged, which is my weekly live podcast, which airs every Thursday on YouTube, Twitch, and LinkedIn. Um, I don't even know how many episodes I'm in at this point, but yeah, I try to talk to different cybersecurity professionals from all over, kind of give their background and their expertise and their experience, and try to give that human feel, that human element to cybersecurity. And the reason why I do it live is to kind of give that like I said, that human element where people can actually reach out and comment and talk to some people that they felt like are, you know, hard to reach, or gurus, or whatever it is you want to call it in this field. So, you know, thanks for having me, and glad to be here.
Yeah, man. Pleasure is all mine. First of all, man, hats off to you with all the live streams. I like live streaming. Actually, is pretty fun. It's just, for me, I know it's just very time consuming, and I probably eventually get to some more. But you know, with the kids and stuff, just gotta make do, because they don't care nothing about no live stream.
No, a lot. It's a lot of work. You know, you things happen on the fly. It's just like, it's almost like when you're doing a talk at a conference, and you know, as soon as you do a live demonstration, everything want to go wrong. Just about every week something's going on, and I'm trying to keep a straight face while the guest is talking or whatever, but I'm like freaking out on the controls back here. But like I said, it's a challenge, but like I said, I enjoy it. It gives that interaction between, you know, me, the host, the guest, and the chat, the audience, or my pack that I call them. So yeah, it is time consuming. But it's kind of, once you kind of get into it and get a feel for it, you know, things, you'll get used to it.
Yeah, man. Hats off to you, man. I see. I don't know what happened. I want to say maybe that try hack me stuff, you know, started just, I think that in the live streams just staying consistent. I saw your following really grow. So hats off to you for that, because we all know that YouTube is probably like the hardest platform to master,
Oh,
in a
absolutely.
sense, because it takes more work. It's like a lot of people think it's a flash in the pan, or I'm just gonna go viral. It's like, nah, you have to be interesting enough for people want to subscribe to you. It's not like TikTok where you only got 15, 30 seconds to hold somebody's attention. That's easy. You
Yeah.
know,
And
this stuff is hard.
yeah, and with and with content like cybersecurity content, you know, it's a real niche space. So, you know, where someone can put some music on and dance, or talk about a trending topic, you know, not everybody wants to hear about, you know, cybersecurity breaches, or like you said, doing try hack me streams, you know, teaching people how to get into cybersecurity, or teaching people the tools and techniques. So you have to be consistent. It's one thing to gain the following, but um we're all very we all have short attention spans. So, to keep the people engaged with content, that's definitely been a challenge on YouTube.
Tell me about it. I think I was able to be, I think in success is what you want to deem it as. Some people might say, oh, you only got 3,000, subscribers. I'm talking about myself now. You're not successful. You don't got 30,000. Well, I was like, but just getting one subscriber is hard. I know
Yeah.
people who've been doing it, struggle streaming and doing it for a while and just can't get people to bite. And like you said, our stuff is harder because it's most of the time is educational. It's not foolishness, which is why I was cool with. I never really was in, like, trying to just chase all the numbers, because I know if I provide value, people eventually will find it. And we also know in this space, most of us who tell the truth tend to not have the biggest following in the beginning. You know,
Oh man, yeah, yeah. We're gonna, yeah. You usually it's the ones that are loud and wrong, but that have the biggest following because of those echo chambers. But yeah, like you said, it's about staying consistent, and it's about the quality. So I was told very early on, don't worry about how many people are paying attention, but worry about who's paying attention. And honestly, I think I probably have less followers or subscribers than you on my YouTube channel. But
no, you got more.
oh,
I
okay,
checked
but not
today. I
by
was like, I said, you
but not by
moving.
much. Yeah, yeah, but it's like, but that being said, I mean, it's the quality of the content, So yeah, you can have a lot of content out there, and if it's not quality content, you're not going to have those repeat followers. Also, you're not going to want to have your guests aren't going to want to join the show. You know, I've
Definitely.
I've I've been lucky enough to have some people who are I won't call them rock stars because we don't really like to use that term, but people that are highly respected in the field um, reach out to me or agree to be on the show. So that tells me that I'm doing something right. So
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I feel the same way. Why not? Why you like to use the term rock star?
a lot of people just like I cringe every time someone says it in regards to me, right? Like I'm just like the rest of everybody else. Like I'm just here. I'm a kid from Bridgeport just trying to make it. You know what I'm saying? And I just my thing is the moment you start feeling like you know everything is that's when you're going to get complacent and you're going to lose your spot. And cybersecurity is big enough where no one person knows everything about everything. So when you have people like I'm sorry, when you have people like calling themselves rock stars or being referred to as rock stars, um, it depends on the person. You have some people who take it and do good with it, and then you have people who, because they have that following or they have that reputation or whatever you want to call it, they they tend to be the ones who are giving out the bad information or the gatekeeping and stuff like that. So you know
Yeah,
I
yeah.
just I move like I'm new in the field every day.
Yeah, I feel you on that. Yeah, I think I'm cool with that, because I mean, I used to be a musician, so I associate being a rock star with that, and I know also, like, you just always got to practice and stay good. But the term I don't like, we're gonna touch on this briefly, and then we'll probably circle back to it so we can get into some more info. Is I don't like right towards the end of the year they started using these terms, tech influencer. I don't like that term. I never came on Twitter to call myself a tech influencer because I didn't have brands, telling me, "Hey, we need you to do this to influence people to do this." So I don't like that term
Well,
at all.
I think how that started, because believe it or not, there are actual brands or platforms now that are trying to use people with those followings to be influencers, so to speak, but not in the influencer like go drink this flat tummy tea or
Right.
anything like that. But it's more of a you should pay attention to this talk, or you should pay attention to this, or like when Log4j came out and everybody came out with content behind it. A lot of people started doing stuff with that. I think with the thing influencer, um there are some people who are in it for that very reason. There are some people I'm trying to behave myself. I said I was going to be better in 2022. But there are some people who gather up a big enough following and use that following for the wrong reasons. And they use that term influencer because that's what they're doing. They're influencing people to do different things. Like you might not have a lot of experience, but you're selling a course, or or you're referring people to take things that aren't going to really help them progress in the field in a natural order. So I think that's where that came from, and people started taking it and running with it. But I just look at it like, you know what? If I influence somebody to do it the right way, does that make, you know what I'm saying? I guess I am an
Yeah.
influencer. You know what I'm saying? Like if
Right.
like you got people who rely on you, who can come to you, and you'll give them your honest truth or your honest opinion on how they should move. And if it helps them, then you were a
Right.
positive influence on that person. So it's just again, it's what you do. It's what you do with that word, or what you do with that responsibility. What they say in Spider-Man: with great power comes great responsibility. And I really believe that, especially with the nonsense we've been seeing on social media.
Right.
You have a bunch of people who follow you or subscribe to you or whatever because they're looking for guidance. Now, should they look to Google for stuff? Absolutely. But um the reason why people look to people like me or like you is because we've kind of been through it. And my how I look at it is if I can teach you how to gain all the successes without hitting as many roadblocks or bumps in the road that I did, then so be it. But it's what you do with that is what matters.
Yeah, I definitely agree on that, and we'll probably get a little spicier on that later. But you know what? Let's go ahead and talk about a little bit about. We'll get into like early career, kind of like your kind of where you're from, your upbringing, and kind of what made you want to transition into tech.
Um so for me, like I knew I was always technically inclined, right? I My grandmother used to let me mess around with electronics and stuff in her house when I was younger. Sometimes I was able to fix things, sometimes I wasn't, but I just couldn't break it. Right. So if it was already broken and I fixed it, cool. If it was broken and then it continued to be broken, fine. But it couldn't be something that was good and then I made it bad, or otherwise I'd have all that smoke from her. But I always was good with my hands and like to tinker and try to figure out how things work. And then you get older and you fall into the trap. You fall into the you know high school girls, sports, money, whatever. And I veered away from it, right? And then I went into the military after the high school. I tried to go back into tech when I was in the military, but I got talked into being an aircraft mechanic. I did that for 4 years. Came home, struggled to find work after I got out of the military, and really kind of hit like a fork in the road. I was working for an alarm company, doing like their alarm installations and doing like home, like the very first, I guess, smart homes, because they were real interactive, whatever. And I remember asking my boss to register me as an apprentice, because in order to get your license in a trade, you have to be registered as an apprentice and then clock in that time. I think at the time it was like 4 years before you could test for your license. And he looked at me and was like, "Why would I do that when I can just continue to pay you, the little bit I'm paying you?" And it was at that point I was like, "Yeah, I can't have nobody really dictate how I move in my career from now on. Like if I want to do something and progress, I'm not going to ask for permission." So had a talk with my wife, or she wasn't my wife at the time, and she was like, "What is this? What is something that you would enjoy doing if you could do it?" I was like, "Tech." But I was a new father, and I didn't feel like I wanted to go to college and do 4 years. For one, there weren't really technical fields in college other than computer science at the time. And at the same time, I also didn't feel like I wanted to spend thousands of dollars on student loans and all of that and take a bunch of classes that weren't going to help me achieve that degree. And I was kind of looking for something that was more direct, and that's how I got introduced to tech certifications. Um, so I started down that path. I started from the bottom, like A+, started with the A+, worked up to Network Plus, Security Plus, and then I had someone. I was lucky enough to have someone in my class tell me, like, yeah, certifications are great, but you got to find a way to get that hands-on experience too. And at the time, after I left the alarm and home theater installation company, I was doing fire dog home theater installations for Circuit City, and an opening came up on their PC bench, their repair bench, and I went to the manager and I asked him. I said, "Well, instead of paying another guy 15 dollars an hour, let's call it $15 an hour, why don't you just give me another $2? And when I'm not doing home theater installations, I'll work on the PC bench." Now he looked at it like, cool, I'm gonna save a bunch of money and I'm gonna have somebody. So now I'm getting two bodies for the price of one. But I looked at it like, now I got my foot in the door because now I have that experience. So I worked at Circuit City until they went out of business. What was it, about 2010? About 2010, 2011. Yeah, it was about 2010 because my son was about to be born that year. So yeah, so I worked till they went out of business, and then I took that year or so of experience and got a help desk job. And I see a lot of people right now um, are trying to talk bad about help desk. Remember what I said about being loud? Is the loud ones that are usually wrong. That's kind of what I'm referring to. Because um, man, look, help desk could teach you a lot. And one of the most important things that help desk could teach you is, for one, it teaches you how to troubleshoot on the fly. Because most help desks, especially if you're working for like a internet service provider, like a cable company, everybody has a cable company because everybody has internet. Those are revolving doors. And believe it or not, they usually pay fairly well just starting out. But it teaches you how to troubleshoot. And a lot of those jobs, they have these queues, and you have to keep your troubleshooting under a certain queue. Otherwise, you get a bad grade, and that affects how you get paid, any raises. Some people can even get fired if they take too long. So it teaches you how to troubleshoot, how to go through the quick troubleshooting on the fly. But more importantly, it teaches you those people skills. And see, we talk about in cybersecurity, you have to have good communication skills. There is no better on the job training than a customer service job. And help desk is customer service while you're doing tech support. So so for the people who are saying you don't need help desk, or help desk is whatever, or it's stupid to go into help desk, I don't want to say they stupid for saying that, but they stupid for saying that because because it teaches you it teaches you the troubleshooting. It gives you the communication skills that are going to be transferable further on into your career, no matter what you do, because there's always going to be some type of customer service interaction. And most importantly, it gives you that same experience that you need. Like, you see the people talking all the time about, I want to get a job, but I don't have experience, and I don't have experience because I can't get a job. Go take your behind go work at a help desk. Tell yourself you're only there for, call it a year, right? Let's say a year max. And while you're there, you're taking advantage of everything that you can learn there. If they have a level 1, a level 2, or level 3 tier, or however they do it, try to move up. Why? Because now that's something that's more skills you can transfer over. So now if you want to move into cybersecurity, and let's say you want to get a SOC job, you have that experience right there. So yeah, like I said, so you gain that experience over time. And that's what I did. I took these jobs, the jobs that nobody really wanted. I worked tech support for a rehab facility. Like, trying to just do things to gain that experience. But while I'm gaining that experience, I'm also reading up on my book. So for example, when I was at Circuit City and I was studying for my A+, I had my A+ book out, and I had the piece, and I had the desktop tower right there, and I'm going, okay, that's this hard drive, that's a CMOS battery, that's RAM, that's this, that's that, and you use everything as a lesson to help you get, build yourself up. Um, like I said, after that, I moved around for a little bit. I ended up getting a job at a school system, and that's where I kind of started to get really introduced into the security side of things. Doing a lot of preventative maintenance and vulnerability management. We were hit with ransomware, so I had to do that disaster recovery. And then from there, I wanted to be more proactive, so I learned about doing vulnerability assessments, which then led me to pen testing, and that the rest is
Yeah.
history from there.
You answering a lot of questions I was gonna ask, man. Man, it's crazy. Like every time I hear you mention Circuit City, I just remember like actually having a choice between Best Buy and Circuit City. Of course, they used to have like where I was from. They didn't have fries. They had them. They had it in Texas, but out there in Shreveport, it was Circuit City by the movies, and then it was Best Buy down the street. And I actually used to like going to Circuit City more. Um, so salute to you for the grind, and also pretty much letting everybody know that this thing ain't pretty. I mean, these people, I sound like an old head, like because like some of these guys now they have the luxury of like kind of not going through the same type of trouble that some of us went through because it's a little bit more accessible. Companies are a little bit more progressive now. It's not as much. Even though people on Twitter holler about gatekeeping, it's not as much gatekeeping as it used to be because, truth be told, you couldn't find info on how to even get into the field back then.
So I'm gonna be honest with you. I think it's a combination of a couple things, and honestly, I think the pandemic played a big role in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see. I like what you did there. So so the information is more accessible, yeah, because you have people who are willing to share it, right? So talking about the gatekeepers back in the day, they weren't giving out that information. They were
Right.
trying to keep it to themselves, or they felt like you weren't worthy because of whatever, that you weren't worthy to handle this information or whatever. So the information is more accessible. Companies, um, they're a little bit more progressive, but I think because of the lack of talent, and then 2020 jumping on top of it, and everybody going remote, and the great resignation, and add that with the shortage of qualified professionals, it's the wild west out here. So you have tech companies who are probably willing to be, you have some that are still like, this is what I want, and will hold firm. But for those lesser positions, for those lesser roles, like those just starting out, those entry level SOC roles or stuff like that, you have them trying to be a little bit more lenient and flexible, and almost, dare I say, desperate to bring
Mm-hmm.
in that talent, because they have to fill those call centers, they have to fill those socks and those knocks, they have to. So the people who are just starting out, yeah, it's a little bit easier. When you start to move up to mid-level, senior level, and shout out to Ty Wilson, because he coined this on a stream one day. We were talking, and I've been saying it since. um, the keyboard never lies, right? So you can talk a good game about your experience, but once you get in front of that monitor and they tell you that you need to come up with X, Y, and Z, and these are the results that they expect,
Yeah.
the keyboard will reveal who you are. So so yeah, you have a combination of a bunch of things happening right now that are allowing people to come in at a less stressful rate than it was, like you said, like back in my day. Um, you know, but when if you want to advance, that's where the challenge is going to come, right?
Right.
Like we've been in them debates enough already about getting the bag. Um, if you if you finesse if you finesse yourself, and I don't want to call it the right way because it's not the right way, but if you finesse yourself and fake it till you make it, you might stumble across a bag. But the name of the game is keeping it.
Right.
And see what a lot of people don't understand is, okay, so you made it to six figures. Congratulations. What happens in 6 months when you can't live up to those skills that you said you're able to produce? and you're working for a company, and most companies now have a thing called at will employment, where there's no
Mm-hmm.
longer a probationary period, one warning, second warning, third strike, you're out. They can let you go tomorrow for no reason. But now what happens when you're in a space and those people communicate? See, tech is huge, but cybersecurity is a subset of tech.
Facts.
And then different jobs in cybersecurity are a subset of itself. So for example, I use financial services, fintech, for example. So let's say you worked in a fintech space and you said, "Oh yeah, I did this and I worked on PCI compliance and I did this, that, and the third," and a job lets you go because you're not living up to those standards. What are you going to do? You're going to try to go get another job in that same fintech space.
Right.
But now you're in a subset of a subset. So now techs over at fintech company A probably know people at company B, or probably have worked. They probably worked at both companies at some point. Furthermore, they have, just like how we have meetup groups and groups like Blacks in Cybersecurity or Black Girls Hack or WeSees or the Women's Society of Cyber Jutsu or Tech Chicks. These companies also have their own internal meetup groups. I've seen groups of CISOs meet up every week, right? So what do you think happens there? Hey, you know such and such, they applied for a job here. Oh yeah, they used to work for me and I had to fire them because they suck at their job. Now you done blackballed yourself because you lied, rather than putting in the work and just doing it the right way. So
Listen, man. Hang on. Let me give you some more gunshots for that. Because you said a lot. I mean, we see it all the time. Like I've said somebody on a previous podcast or whatever. I work with people and I'm just like, who? First of all, who hired you?
mm-hmm.
And I go look at your LinkedIn and see why you didn't last long at some places. And I'm like, why are you here this long?
Yep.
Like, sometimes like I feel like a lot of people can get in here and do it, and then it's a combination of like effort. Like I can't coach or teach effort. If you don't want to do it, you don't want to do it. Like one of the reasons why about my last like gig, I didn't want to get and like try to attempt to manage the team was the fact that we had been there so long. I knew the personalities. I knew what type of pushback I get, and I knew I
Mm-hmm.
probably wouldn't get what I want if what I wanted to do. So I
Right.
felt it'd be best that I not even try to do it because I had some people that just, I don't want to say this. I'll say it, but it's like some of them we had an awesome manager. She's like a director there now. Which another thing with people when you brought up how people talk and people know where you worked, it's very important that you go somewhere and work as hard as you can or do as much as you can because you don't want to mess up those bridges. Because I can go back there now if I
Mm-hmm.
say, hey Ash, woo woo, this company, it ain't panning out like I thought it was. What you got open? Because
Right.
she directly managed me. She know what I'm about.
Mm-hmm.
But some people don't do that and they don't realize how they messing themselves up in a already still
Small.
fairly, I mean, you can call it new, but like nuanced, smaller industry that people just exchange different companies and know each other. It's super small. Like I've
Right.
worked places where people worked at previous companies and they were a director and they knew me and let me get on. But um, I think they took her management style a little bit for granted. Whereas with men, our tolerance is going to be a little low after a while.
Mm-hmm.
And since she was more nurturing, they kind of just took it for granted to kind of got towards the end where like when everything blew up, it's kind of like, I used to sound an alarm or say like, hey, these guys not cutting it. Like, I don't know what it is, but we need to do something before it's too late. And then we had a big incident. So like video I made about like what they don't tell you about working in the socks is like, yeah, they tell you about all this money and how fun and cool it is. They ain't tell you about how everybody woke up and we got an incident and hopefully,
Yeah.
no data left out over something small.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
When
saying? Like,
it's time to work, it's time to work.
right. And that's, no, you
That
go
that
ahead. You
that
got it.
yeah, that's the misconception that I won't say it pisses me off, but you have people who are like, yeah, this job. Oh, I want to get into tech or I want to get into cybersecurity because I heard you can make this kind of money. Yeah, you can make that kind of money, but what happens when, especially if you're in a corporate setting, like you said, you're in a SOC. So, I know Blackberries are dead, but I remember when I worked at my job, and I had to support the board for the company, and I was assigned like the senior vice president of the finance group in that company, and I was on his, like, I was assigned a BlackBerry, and he called me at all hours of the night. So I'm getting calls 4 o'clock in the morning because he's trying to connect to his VPN at home, and it can't work, and it's not working. Or he's calling me on a Sunday, as I'm about to eat Sunday dinner, because he's trying to get something done to send to his client in Japan, and he needs help right there on the spot, you know. And sometimes it's stuff that it could honestly be fixed with a turn it off and turn it back on, or did you actually check the settings? So now you're wasting my time. But guess what? You have to be available for that.
Yeah.
There's I'm talking from the tech support space, but now let's move into a cybersecurity space. Breaches and attacks are happening every day. So like we talked about, you get an alert at the SOC, or I get a call right now that says half the company's hit with ransomware. We gotta stop what we're doing,
Right.
and we got to tend to that and make it happen. And the family's got to understand, and the family vacation or whatever it is you're doing, that has to take a whole, that gets put on pause, because you have to go earn this paycheck. um and the thing is, that's the good thing and the bad thing about being salaries. Like, yeah, we get paid regardless, but there's no overtime, right? Luck, you might find a manager who goes, you put in so much hours or whatever, take tomorrow off, or I'll do something to make it up for you. But as far as actually getting paid hours, paid a rate for this many hours of work, like overtime, that's not that doesn't happen anymore with
Well,
salary jobs.
I would say with Opta, because tech, I'm not in the SOC setting no more. I moved to like, I'm in fintech now. I'm like with the tech risk,
Mm-hmm.
but the past company, well, I will say it was good about them. Where I try to get as many people I can on if they on this certain contract. Um, uh, what's the thing called? Shift differential was built into our contract, so you didn't have to worry about whether you work night or day. You already got
Mm-hmm.
that built in. Then I ain't gonna lie, I used to rack up. We used to get holiday pay, well, holiday adjustment. So if you
Okay.
worked a holiday, they threw it on there. So we didn't really get overtime, but we did get holiday adjustments, and it came with other things. But like you said, they give us a stipend every month for our phone and internet. So they expect, hey, when we hit you up on Teams, reply. You know,
Yep.
like I'm telling people now, like when we had the incident, we had to let go like a 3 analysts, but they ended up going to different contracts, which left my team 3 people short. So when we had that bad snowstorm in Dallas last year, who y'all think was working overnight? And we
Yeah.
drawing straws. Oh, I'm working overnight. Who you think was working around the clock? Like,
Yeah.
my girl's pregnant at the time, and then I had the 1 year old. I'm up all night. Like, it's like 12 or something. Like, my boy takes me, say, "Yo, look what just happened." Boom. Even though I went on, I immediately got on because I wanted to make sure I knew what was going on, but I had to get briefed on Monday because it's going to take too long. So I was keeping up with everything about how
Mm-hmm.
I had already worked all the alerts out, so I already knew when they was going to ask me like, "Well, what did we miss?" In short terms, I told my manager, "What we missed is they didn't care about the alert; they just BS'd it like this person typically did." But I had to
Right.
do a whole detailed thing going back behind other people's stuff. Not to mention, I had a lead role, so on top of trying to go back and do level 1 stuff, I still had to do my lead stuff. So
and you
let's
and
talk
you
about
you
the
got
fun
you
stuff.
got yeah, and you got to be the one to present it to the higher up afterwards, usually.
Yeah.
But
Oh yeah.
yeah, but when you get that on, yeah, or it's your weekend, right? Because a lot of companies have on call rotations, so you earn that money, right?
You definitely.
You earn that money, but this is where knowing your craft and knowing what you put out there, or knowing the job you're getting into, will be helpful, because in those high stress situations, like you said, the magnifying glass is on you. So
Trust me.
if you can't perform in them situations, them scenarios, what good are you? You're going to become an asset or a liability. So
Right.
so faking it till you make it, it will never sustain. Like I think about the incident the other day where somehow someone got certified what was it, the AWS Solutions Architect certification,
Oh
right?
yeah.
That's not an entry level cert by any means, but this person got this as their first cert and thought they could get a job that would command a pay of $120,000 as a cloud architect. This person had no IT experience whatsoever.
You know what? While you're talking, I'm gonna try to find that because this actually be pretty interesting
So
to
so
show.
so so and then when you did the digging, come to find out, they were told by someone that this is all they needed. They just needed to get in the cloud and that be it. But like I said, they jumped up a cert because the foundational cert for AWS is the certified cloud practitioner certification. But you also don't have any IT experience whatsoever, but you thought you'd be able to get a job, and now you're forced to go on LinkedIn to complain about you're looking for an entry level cloud architect position, which there's no such thing. There's no there's no entry level cloud architect. That's like that's like saying I want to be, I want to be a basic entry level senior engineer. Like it's like it contradicts itself. But this is the type of information that's getting put out there, and these are the situations that people are putting themselves into. They're getting these certifications that are way too advanced for their skill set or their experience level, and now those certifications are going to be nothing but um what pieces of paper. See, you want to put the whole thing, and now you're on mute.
I was saying I'm gonna probably black out his name, but
Yeah.
there's some of the stuff people face. Like if I come to people, they'll go get some of these certs or whatever, and be saying, "What's why ain't nobody hitting my line?" And I'll be trying to tell them like the certs are cool, but that's not the end all be all. And I also tell people a lot of times how having a cert could sometimes negatively affect you in the interview process. About how you can probably get interviewed a little tougher than you would if you didn't have the cert.
Well, and because the first thing they want to do is when they see a situation like that, right? And use it. And I hate to use the brother as an example, but I'm gonna use him as an example. Um, when you see a situation like that, someone comes in with a solutions architect certification with no experience whatsoever. It screams paper certified to me, right? And paper cert, for those who don't know, paper certified is a phrase that I'm pretty sure it's self-explanatory, but um, you don't have any experience to go with that certification, so you just studied really well, or or and I don't want to assume anything, but the assumption could then be that you paid for a brain dump somewhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
That someone gave you the questions for the exam, or so you just basically studied for the test. You didn't study what it really means. You didn't study the components. You didn't study the skills that needed to be done. So if you do get into an interview, you have these people who honestly I feel like is it's a waste of time, but you do have some people who go, okay, I'm going to bring them in here and I'm going to put them through the ringer. Is it fair? No. But at the same time, like you said, you put yourself at a disadvantage by saying, "Oh, I'm looking for this type of role, and I'm certified, but I have no experience." So now
Right.
they're going to want to know how do you have that certification, right? That's like like you see this one back here, like the CISSP. Like people are being told that they can get into the game, get into cybersecurity, and in less than a year they can get their CISSP. The CISSP alone, you have to have 5 years of experience.
I might have to put Booker T right here. Five
Yeah,
times.
5 times, right?
For real,
But
man.
you need to have 5 years in each section of that certification, right? If not, you get what you can get the certification, but then you'll get what is called the
Associate, right?
associate of ISC squared CISSP, right? Because what's going to happen is you're going to get that certification, or you pass the test because you study well and you pass the exam. And what they don't tell you is you actually have to get vetted by someone who has their CISSP to get the fully qualified certification.
Right.
So now when you go and say, hey, can someone vet me, and they go to vet you and they look at your resume and they see that the experience don't add up, what good is it? What good is it? So people trying to jump to these senior level certifications in the beginning, you're stifling yourself. You're stifling
Man.
yourself. And honestly, you talk about the bag, you're fumbling the bag. You're fumbling the bag because you're spending all this money on these certifications because no company in their right mind is going to give their junior pen tester, going to pay for their junior pen tester to go take their CISSP exam. It's not going to happen.
And that's funny because we used to run into that when I was a lead at the SOC. Like certain people would want to say, "Oh, I want to do this training," and my manager's like, "You want to jump to this training, but you don't even have your Security Plus. Why would
Yeah.
we pay for that? Make it make sense." Or we have people take off a week because they want to take this freaking crash course on getting a CISSP and then they fail. It's
Like my,
like,
my question is at what point did certifications like the Security Plus or the Network Plus ever lie to anybody, right? So I say that because, and again, you've seen it. If you go out there and say you can get the Network Plus as a good certification for network foundations, they immediately call you some type of paid endorsement from CompTIA or whatever, or they tell you that you're lying to the people because they're saying, because someone told them that the CCNA is what you need to do to get basic level networking experience, which is ridiculous. CompTIA, the whole purpose of CompTIA is the certifications are vendor neutral and they're and it's a foundational knowledge. There's
right,
unless you move into like the CASP or the CYSA, which are more advanced.
right.
Every certification for CompTIA clearly states in in the description that it's a foundational knowledge. So I tell people, if you already know computers, you don't need the A plus. But
That's what I do too.
Network Plus, Network Plus, Security Plus, I get those two. Get those two, and then take a step back and realize and think about what you want to do next. If you want to move into Cisco security, then go get your CCNA security. Then that's fine. If you want to move into cybersecurity, well, where do you want to go into cybersecurity? You want to go into pen testing? Great. CompTIA has a Pen Test Plus certification. You can get the CEH. If you have the opportunity to get the CEH, get the CEH. Now, the reason why I say that is, although
I think it's too
maybe
expensive.
that's why I said if you have the opportunity, I'm not telling you to come out of pocket, right? But my thing is, until certifications like the EJPT or Pen Test Plus, or even shout out to the
Yeah, because
cyber
they have
DP,
eLearn Security also has one for incident response too.
right? So if you can grab those for a lot cheaper, fine. The only reason why I said CEH is because unfortunately, right at as of this time, it's still a necessary evil because jobs are
Yep.
still looking for it. DoD 8830 still has it on their list of certifications.
Hmm.
So
But I will say, I could be wrong, but I remember I was listening to this somewhere. If you get the CYSA plus, it'll be the same level of CEH, and it's cheaper for that. What you said
so
DOD?
it's like 8830. I
Yeah, I
think
think
so.
it meets that criteria for that.
Yeah.
Y'all
So
can look it
so
up if I'm wrong.
so there. Yeah. That is the only reason why I would still say not 8830. Geez, what am I thinking? I think it's 8560, 8570. Yep. DoD 8570. The base. So those are the baseline certifications. But yeah, CYSA Plus is approved for IAT level 2. So yeah, there you go. But yeah, so you may not need it anymore.
Yeah,
But yeah, I agree. I had, like I said, I had an opportunity
I
presented
got a
to
whole
me.
video on like I failed it and it's trash.
Yeah.
It's really only because I studied for the wrong version and took it. And you know what I found about EC Council is when they push the new version out, they're trying to see what questions work and what don't.
Mm-hmm.
So none of the stuff that I studied in the other one was
Was
really
on that.
in that one. So I was like, bro, this right here, this not it. And
See,
after that, I was like, I ain't wasting 500 on it again.
yeah. No, I said I had an opportunity to get it. Um, I got it. I took a course with it. I had already read up the books, you read the books on it, and I was like, I need to get the certification to get to move on. At that time, I was still at the school system, and I had saved up a bunch of money over time because
Right.
they had reimbursed me for every time I passed the certification. So I got like 6, 7 certifications for $300 because I
Man, I
spent the
borrowed
three
money to
hundred
take
dollars.
mine.
Yeah, I spent the $300 the one time to get the books and to pay for the exam voucher. I passed it. They reimbursed me. I put it towards another one, and this is when I was in tech, so it was all Microsoft certifications. So I was doing all the stuff to get my Microsoft MCSA or what? Yes, MCSA or MCITP for Windows 7 at the time, and then like Windows Server. So I got all of those to get those stacked certifications. But yeah, like I said, you learn, you figure out what it is what you want to do, and you find the best course of action. And then what you do is when you get your foot in the door and you get these companies, see if they'll reimburse you, see if there's some, if there's some type of help or assistance, because these certifications aren't cheap. And when you do it within the right time, you're building yourself up. So rather than rushing to get your CISSP 6 months in, no, get the 5 years of experience. Because if not, you're still going to spend 5 years trying to gain that experience to get the real certification, because no one's going to look at the associate and go, oh, well, they have their associate at CISSP, so here's this senior level, here's this senior level role. No, they're going to look at it and say, well,
Facts.
you have the associate's level because you don't have the senior level experience, so why would I pay you senior level money? So just earn it.
What's going on? Oh well, I don't know. This thing's not playing. But I also say that when you get the experience, you ain't got to apologize no more. They come find you. Or somebody send them to you. I remember I sent one your way. I was like, shoot, you might be interested in this.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. I think,
Someone scooped me up like as I put in the feeler, and it was like I got offered something else. But
yeah, and it's crazy because what they don't know that we know is that we could tell who's faking too. Like I got to go back whatever video I did about the girl who just, hey, look, if you're gonna lie on your resume, make sure you know what lies you put on there, because you make yourself look real bad if you lied and then you don't even know the stuff you even got on there. That's just that's
man,
just crazy.
I keep telling this story over and over again because it's the one that stick with me. We were we were hiring for a pen tester, and this dude came in out of college, and he was acting like he was God's gift to hacking, man. Like he came in and was like, I I'm proficient at everything. And I'm like, all right, cool. I'm like, well, this is more of a web app pen testing role. And he was like, that's my favorite. That's my preference. I love web app pen testing. So we're like, all right, cool. So he comes in for the interview, and I just asked him some simple questions, and he couldn't answer the questions. Like I asked him, I said, okay, so explain to me how SQL injection works. Now I'm not looking for you to tell me word letter by letter the SQL
Right.
query, but tell me how you would test to see if the vulnerability exists, right? So typically they would say, okay, I'd find an input box and I put in a single quote or whatever and see if it returns an error message. Or I do a union select or whatever. I look for a parameter in the URL. You know what I'm saying? Like these are certain things that you would just kind of look for if you want to test certain vulnerabilities. He couldn't tell me. He was like, I'm not familiar with SQL injection. I'm like, okay, so you're not familiar with you're
One of
not
the
familiar
easiest
with
injections.
well, up until late last year, SQL injection was the number one vulnerability in most web applications.
I'm pretty
So you
sure. I
can't
bet
you
especially
can't
for WordPress stuff, wasn't it?
yeah. So SQL, I mean, and I think now with the new OWASP top 10, it's number 3 for the web applications and number 8 for APIs. But he couldn't answer that. So then I said, okay, well, um, explain to me some of the different features in Burp Suite. He couldn't answer that question. I said, okay, fine. You don't know Burp Suite? All right, well, maybe you use OWASP Zap. Tell me what you can do in OWASP Zap and the difference between OWASP Zap and Burp. And he couldn't answer that. So I'm like, okay, how are you doing web app pen testing? What are you testing for? Um, because those two are the two main proxies that you would use in a web app pen test.
Right.
So immediately it was like, all right, cool. You don't know you don't know what you're talking about. And going back to what I said earlier, where some people look at that as like blood in the water and they're sharks. And my coworker started, well, what's cross-site request forgery? Or explain to me the difference between DOM-based cross-site scripting and reflected cross-site, and like, you know, and he felt like he did that because he was wasting our time. But it's like, these are the things that I tell people, like, it it helps to know these things, or it helps to be honest. Like, you can honestly sit here and say, you know what, I don't know that, but give me a second to give me a chance to figure it out, and I get it back to you. But don't go in there and basically say like I know everything, and then you can't answer a single question.
Right, man. I was trying to find a funny sound to play for that, and now everything's stupid. Like I was trying to find that you know, when you down Super Mario Bros.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, I know that had to be him right there, because I honestly don't know what people are thinking. Especially, here's me. If I was lying on my resume, I apply for the most entry level thing. People be trying to go for the cream of the crop roles and trying to do entry level, and I'm like, fam, like just start off like it and build your way there. Y'all trying to do the most with people who've been doing this, and so of course they're gonna get offended because people worked hard for it. Let me see if this works now.
Yeah.
But
no, you know what? We live in a time of instant gratification where a lot of people want all of the perks and all of the accolades, but don't want to do half of the work.
man, listen.
And it's crazy because I never thought I would be that person that's, like I said, that's like screaming back in my day. But I'm year 16, 17 in, and you talk about the bag. I didn't make six figures until about more than halfway into my career total.
Right.
Not just in cybersecurity, like because the first half of my career was building up from help desk to tech support to sysadmin, and I didn't make six figures there. I didn't make six figures until I got into cybersecurity, and
Right.
actually my first cybersecurity role was still it was still just under six figures. But you know, so many people want to just look at it like I can just get six figures and I can do it faster than what people are telling me, because that's you know, they're gatekeeping. If by me telling you it's going to take you probably a good 3 to 5 years, right,
Right.
of solid work before
Right.
you can really start seeing over six figures.
Right. And I'll say the only way you do it before then is if one, you had internships, two, you really have tremendous value, and three, you have a good network.
Yeah, or like I
Because
said,
like,
or you can be like some people like who found their niche, and they're just almost like savants at it. Like for example, if you going back to what I was saying about customer service and help desk stuff and learning those tangible skills, those communication skills. If you can write really well and you can do technical writing, or you can do GRC, like writing for GRC and compliance stuff, and you, like you said, getting those internships and getting that experience and having some people that can vouch for you, and you have a proven track record, yeah, you can you can make that, you can make it in 3 to 5 quick. But when you start getting into the technical side of things, you have to take that time.
right.
You have to, because when you get into those roles where, like for example, where you're at or where I'm at, um they're paying you to know what to do in certain situations. They're not paying you to spend a day googling. Don't get me wrong, you're gonna
You're
use
going to
Google
Google.
every day, but they're paying you because they figured you've done enough googling over time to amass this wealth of knowledge that's going to help the company succeed. Or if you
Definitely.
or if you don't have the answer, you know exactly where to get the answer, and you know how to Google. Because that's the other thing that people just look at Google or whatever, but
It's a
you
way.
yeah, there's a way to make it work for you. Like I've gotten jobs, or I've referred people who I said, you know what, they don't know this right now, but I know they can get the answer, so I'm gonna take a chance on them.
Right. And like, For me, I know right now I'm specifically put on to help with the project because of my previous experience with the particular software at my last company. And oh, you know how to do this and that. Oh, you've been working with, with Phantom. Oh, cool. So I mean, that's the thing where like people like chase the experience over the certs because that's going to take you farther. Like, yeah, you can a cert not telling you. Oh, it might mention SOAR, but it ain't telling you on the back end on how you're gonna need to, you know, work with it,
Look,
or what I'm saying, you ain't never sniffed the EDR tool.
look, I'm gonna be honest, and I don't want to come off like I'm being cocky, right? I've done enough. I've done enough work, and I have enough of a track record that speaks for itself that I am no longer worried about finding another job, right? And this comes with doing the work and putting in that work over time.
Right,
Because if my company goes under tomorrow or there's layoffs or whatever tomorrow, it's gonna hurt, right? It's gonna suck. But I know within the month, I'll land back on my feet because I have the certifications, but I also have the experience to back up my certifications. You can't get that. You can't get that shortcut in your way through this field, right? Because it's not only the experience and the work that you're missing out on, it's those connections. It's things that you can speak to, right? Like it's content you can create. Like you have your YouTube channel and a blog and stuff. I have a blog, these are all things that help boost your resume and your brand because at the end of the day, we all work for different companies, but as cybersecurity professionals, we're our own brand because we can go out and contract on our own, or
right,
we can sell ourselves to the highest bidder. And that again, that field, because of the field that we're in, because of the lack of qualified talent, it's to our advantage to know as much as we can and be as experienced as we can because now we can bring that into any company and say we know our worth. See, when you don't, if you don't put in the work or you don't have the experience, you don't know. They won't know what it takes to be in a SOC. They don't know what it takes to be on a to do a web app pen test. They don't know what it takes to configure network switches or any or routers or anything like that. They just know what they read in a book or what someone told them and what they saw in their 6 months to a year. So now I can walk in there and say,
hmm,
this is what I want based on the market, based on my experience. What are you gonna do for me?
facts. They ain't seen CrowdStrike blow up because somebody blocked a hash for File Explorer, and it went to like 6,000 alerts in like a minute, and now
Mm-hmm.
everybody on Mayday, and they ain't never seen that stuff. So experience is always the best teacher. I'll segue into this though, for the viewers. So how long have you been in offensive security on that side of the spectrum?
Pretty much the whole time I've been in cybersecurity. So I said we're in 2022 now, so about 8 years,
Okay.
maybe a little bit more. I try. The crazy thing is I actually wanted to get into digital forensics, and
And that's so hard to do. That's so hard to get into in the
but
beginning.
I loved it. I got my foot in the door as a pen tester. I was doing pen testing for about a year and a half, and then I looked up some digital forensic stuff. Mainly because again, when I was working in the school system, I was introduced to a couple people who worked in digital forensics, and I just thought it was cool to kind of put yourself in a situation and kind of almost see what the person was thinking.
Right.
Um, so I
All the
actually
stuff we
went,
see on CSI and
yeah,
numbers and all them other shows that they Mr. Robot, where they try to make all the stuff seem super easy.
right. But so what I did was, and then but my thinking also was, if I taught myself forensics, it would make me a better hacker because from the hacker side, I would know what to avoid or what the forensic person would look for, be it logs or whatever, system alerts or whatever. So I would know how to try to, avoid those things or circumvent them, or do I need to kill the logs if before I do anything, so that when they go to look at the logs, they don't see any traces of me being there. And then from the forensic side, I felt like, well, that would also sharpen those skills, because now I'm thinking outside of the box from a forensics like a hacker. So I'm like, okay, well, if I was hacking this is what I would do, but I would also do that because I knew the forensics guy would be watching.
Mm-hmm.
So, so I did that, and I took a course on it, and actually took like this practical exam where they gave you a case that you needed to follow, and you had to do everything from like following the chain of custody, um, signing out the evidence and all of that, and going through this whole case file.
Yeah, because
And
they can
then
throw it out in court if you didn't do stuff right, right?
yeah, yeah. If you so much as if it was signed out on a day that isn't in the log, it's inadmissible, because now the chain of custody is broken,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you have to sign it out every time. Like every time I went to work on it, I had to sign it out, and when I was done and I had to shut off my VM for the night, I had to write it up like I signed it back in. Um, but you go through that whole process, and then you do the whole forensics. You run like autopsy and stuff like that, and you go through the whole process of finding whatever information you needed to find to help the prosecutor prove their case in court. Um, so I loved it, and then when I wanted to transition into that field, but when I was living in the Northeast at the time, they said in order to do that, I would have had to work with law enforcement, and that wouldn't happen. So so I went back. So I went back to pen testing. But like I said, I still keep an eye on it. I still pay attention to it when I can. Um, but yeah, like I said, I've been doing offensive stuff since then. So I've been like a pen test. I started off doing like network infrastructure pen testing. So internal network, external network, Active Directory. I did a little bit of Active Directory, and then we also did physical pen testing. So we got to like break into buildings and stuff like that. And then I moved
Yeah,
over
man.
to then I moved over to web app, and I've kind of been doing a combination of web app and mobile app ever since. And now I moved into like, it's still doing mobile apps, but I'm mainly doing like API stuff now, which is like the new frontier for application pen testing. So that I'm working on creating content and stuff around API pen testing right now.
Nice. So I was going to ask you, because it's one of the ones I typically try to ask everybody, because you're in the part of cybersecurity that actually is super competitive, and everybody think they want to do the wild wild west. So I'll ask you two questions. If somebody wants to get started in the red team, what would you advise them to do? And also, what are some of the biggest misconceptions that newbies have about being on the red team?
Oh, so those questions are one and the same. They can be answered at the same time. So starting with the misconception first, a lot of people think the one misconception is they think that the hacking stuff is easy because, like you said, they glorify it on TV. Mr. Robot, awesome show, probably some of the most accurate depiction of hacking that's been on TV in the history of doing showing hacking on TV. Um, but people really think it's that easy. That, oh, I can just run a couple buttons here and there. And don't get me wrong, there are a lot of automated apps, right? There's a lot of automated tools and scripts, and you have script kiddies out there that can automate a lot of the pen testing stuff from the push from a couple keystrokes. But it's a lot of work. It's definitely a lot of work to understand what's going on. It is one thing to know what Metasploit module does whatever, but it's another to know why it works, right? So in those scenarios, you have to know why I'm going to run an nmap scan, or why am I looking at this port in particular, or why is this vulnerability actually vulnerable to this exploit. Um, so there's a lot of reading and a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes that you don't see from a pen tester's perspective. The other misconception that people have when it comes to pen testing and ethical hacking is they think that that's all they do. Believe it or not, pen testing is probably I'll say 30% of what you do, because the rest of it is broken up to getting getting the permissions, getting the scope, and arguing with the client or whoever, remediations, report writing, writing up
Right.
writing up
And
the
that's why I
report.
kind of tell people sometimes too. It's like, you think you finna go on there like you finna be a Jedi, you know what I'm saying, and just take your lightsabers out and fight. But it's like, it's actually way more documentation than you think it is. Even the simple things as you guys have to notify us, hey, we
Yep.
running a pen test today. From this source IP, this will be us
Yep.
doing this.
This will be us doing this, and we have to respect the rules of engagement. We have to respect the scope. So we have to make sure that the IP list that we're scanning is the actual IP list, because God forbid you off by one number. So let's say you're supposed to do 192.168.1.100 and you do 1.101, and that's out of scope. You can get in trouble for that.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure you make so there's a lot that goes into being a pen tester. And as far as getting if someone were to ask me about what to do to gain the experience, like I said, Network Plus and Security Plus to start with the foundation. Network Plus, because the foundational knowledge you get for networking is crucial, because you have to know basic subnetting, you have to know TCP and UDP ports, you have to know the port numbers that are assigned by default. Why? Because so for example, if you see you're running a scan and port 22 is open, all right, cool, SSH is open, let me see if I can find some default creds for SSH, or port 25, or that's SMTP. So these are things that you learn in networking. Security Plus gives you that foundational knowledge, and you can move on to a pen testing certification like a Pen Test Plus, EJPT, um, CEH, whatever, right? PMPT, I'm gonna keep uh, bringing up that one because that's another one that's a really good one, and it's actually affordable.
What's that one stand for? I never heard of it.
PMPT is was a practical network pen testing. Cyber Mentor, Heath Adams, actually created that certification.
Okay, cool.
Um, but getting that experience, getting those certifications, and then after that, it's all hands on. And most of the stuff you can do hands on your own. You can build your own lab. You can go to sites like TryHackMe or Hack the Box, or if you want to learn web app pen testing, you can look at Pen Tester Lab or Portswigger's Web Security Academy. I usually tell people to build out their own lab first and download some machines from VulnHub. VulnHub is a website, is just where everybody puts like their vulnerable CTF machines, and you can try to root them. And the reason why I tell you to start there, and also look at was it Over the Wire, because that teaches you like basic Linux commands. But VulnHub, I tell people to get those, start with those, and actually Google some walkthroughs, because you're not going to know how to get root on the first machine you start. And a lot of people think that because of that misconception that pen testing is easy,
Mhm.
and now when they get stuck, they immediately get discouraged. So it's like, no, grab a blog, grab a walkthrough video or something, and see what they did, and compare and contrast to what you did. Maybe they did something different, or they can explain where you were stuck. And then as you progress, start using the walkthroughs less and less. Gain that experience. Like I said, look at Try Hack Me. A lot of people are saying Hack the Box is for entry level now. Shout out to Kim Crawley. I know she does some work with them now. But I typically tell people do Hack the Box once you get a little experience once you get that experience of the basic tooling and the basic foundations of pen testing. Um, and like get the hands-on experience for about like a good 3 to 6 months. And then the other thing I recommend is, when you're doing those machines, write up what you're doing, because what you can use those for one, you could use those as references. You can use those as references back to stuff for your own notes. You
And
can
your
create
resume.
you can create a blog. I was going to get there. You can create a blog or a YouTube channel with the walkthrough that's going to help other people, and that's also going to build your brand. But you can use that to help pad your resume. What I tell people is, when you go in for that interview, bring a couple walkthroughs with you, and ranging from different levels of difficulty, right? So you can get one that's easy, find one that's medium, and find one that's hard, or find one that's really hard, and hand that to your interviewer, right? A lot of people are doing virtual meetings now. Email it to them. Why? Because now it shows your thought process through the CTF exercise, but it also shows your knowledge to what you're doing here. And sometimes that will satisfy the interviewer enough where if they were going to give you a technical interview or they give you a hands-on interview like, oh, here, try to get root on this VM, now you satisfied that by showing them, okay, now I actually know what I'm doing here. And if you can speak to what you know, that's a cheat code right there. Like, a lot of people don't know that, bringing that with you can sometimes be, the deciding factor in whether or not that's going to give you a leg up against whoever else is interviewing for the role.
Right. And you dropped a lot of gems right there, because one of the reasons why I also tell people, hey, start documenting if they're new, is because it's going to help you get very comfortable explaining these new things in interviews. Because a lot of times, sometimes you just get nervous.
Yeah.
And you learn the new stuff. But if you get documented enough, you kind of remember what you wrote about it, and you can talk about it in great lengths to where you seem like, you might be a pro now. And that's one of the good reasons I know for me, like which I got to get back to doing a little bit more technical stuff, would be trying to give all this good regular content. But like when I was just trying to find something different, I sent them that Boss of the Sock video I did with incident response with Splunk.
Mm-hmm.
And I sent it to like the recruiters, and they would send it to the interviewers. So you can see what I'm doing, because I'm talking through the video of like what I'm looking for, what I found. And those are some simple ways that will help you like stand out, because everybody's not going to do that. Like you said,
Right.
you're going to have these people that's trying to act like they know what they're talking about and they really don't. Whereas if some of the stuff that might take you some time to put the work in on the back end will eventually pay off for you if you go ahead and put the hard work in first. You'll eventually land something, find a company that's a right fit, that likes all the stuff that you're doing in your, in your off time, because not only are they looking for a worker, but they may want an ambassador. They may want a leader. They may not want somebody who, when they're having the meetings, they're just going to be quiet every time. They want somebody going to speak up. So it's a lot of nuance when it comes to hiring, I guess, like different people. I know we've all worked with various type of different personality types, and, but I'm glad you said that. I hope that people took their pen and, paper out when you said that, because I know for myself, when I would talk to people, like they would always try to go red team like first. And I'm like, you got to put some work in. I was like, because it's super competitive. I mean, just like it's crazy, because at first it used to be like just super competitive for red team. And then now you see like blue teams getting competitive. And now they got what you call the purple team, and whoever. It's like everything is getting like super competitive now. And so now you just got to find those little things that's going to set you apart from the other applicants.
Man, you got to see, and it's all about where you're comfortable too, right? Because I mean, there's a lot of people who they say they want to get into pen testing, but don't really know what it entails, and might be strong doing digital forensics. Or you have someone who might want to think they'll be great in a SOC, but actually probably are better off doing, governance, risk, and compliance.
Right.
So it's all about taking that time for yourself, and really assessing yourself and being honest with yourself, because let's face it, there are some people who aren't built for this type of work, right? No matter what side of the team, whether you red team, blue team, purple, whatever, I feel like we all have this same trait where it's almost like this itch in the back of our head that that's curious, that always wants to know why something is the way it is, or what happens if I do something different, or okay, if it's expecting this, let me throw this at it. If it's expecting an integer, let me throw a string at it. If whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if you don't have, if you don't have that curiosity, and you don't have the patience to do the research and do the work, and build up your craft, you're not going to succeed. If you don't like to read, you're not going to succeed, right? I tell people,
That's fundamental.
yeah, I tell people that all the, like I was talking to one person one time, and he was like, man, I want to do all of this, but I don't want to be reading all day. And I was like, then you might not want to be in
This
this
ain't for
field.
you. Yeah, because I mean, some of the simplest things, some of the simplest alerts that I worked on before could have been finished if somebody would actually took the time and read through it and then did some research, just a little
Yeah,
quick amount of research to figure out what it was instead of sending it to me. I'm like, what'd you look at? You didn't put any documentation notes. That's how I know you didn't really do it. So I'm going to send it back to you and you're going to do it because I'm not finna
yeah.
play cleanup for y'all no more.
Nah, you can't, man. You like there's a lot to do out here. So it's like everybody if you're gonna be in the field, you know, you got to do your part.
Yeah, man.
Whether you're on one of the development teams, whether you're red team, blue team, whatever. Everybody has a role to play and a position to play in it. And until we get that together, you know, we're gonna see more ransomware attacks. We're gonna see more phishing expeditions successful. We're gonna be in more mandatory trainings. You know what I'm saying? So
More security awareness as
more
much they try to
security.
jazz it
Yeah.
up, and you can't
I
turn
mean,
the volume down.
don't get me wrong. It's job security for me, but
Facts.
but you know, you're if you want to succeed in this field, you're gonna be out of your comfort zone. You're gonna be out of your depth. You're gonna struggle. And this is where I tell people to remember their why, and their why has to be strong enough to be able to persevere through that, right? Like you have people who sit there and say, "I want to get into cybersecurity because I heard you can get the bag," but guess what? There are times where
The bag might get you.
not even the bag might get you. There are times where, you know, how many times I've contemplated walking away, right? Like sometimes the bag isn't worth it. Sometimes the bag isn't worth the stress. The bag isn't worth the imposter syndrome. The bag isn't worth
Right.
the physical and mental toll that that it takes on you when when you're doing certain things. Sometimes, you know, money is crazy, it's cliche, whatever. Sometimes money
It's not
isn't.
everything.
So,
Hey, that's facts, man.
like to me, where I'm at in my career now, like I've actually turned down big money jobs because I care more about quality of life and work life balance, right? Like
Right.
like you said, you got kids, I got kids. My kids are getting older now, so now, you know, they're getting to that age where they're going to probably want to be around mom and dad a lot less, you know. So now and these transitional times, so now any job I take, I'm like, for one, I'm like, look, I'm like Big Red from Five Heartbeats. My office hours are from
Mm-hmm.
9 to 5, right? And then after that, if I want to do stuff like this, if I work on my own content, if I just want to sit on my behind and just watch TV, I have that ability now. Whereas in the past, it was all about working as much as you can 24/7, you know, whatever to
Shoot, that's
grind.
me now. We get into it now. I'm like, listen, I gotta these next couple of years, I gotta do all this crap, and then I'd probably
Yeah,
be straight because I didn't put out my foundation. I was like, the early years is the hardest ones when you're trying to start something new. But I was like, eventually, you know, once you did what you have to do in the beginning, you kind of on a autopilot automation a little bit. You got
yeah,
assistants. You can, you know what I'm saying? You can go speak, and it's a whole bunch of other stuff you could start doing when you know when you're the marketer, when you are the graphic designer, when you're the planner, the strategist, the content creator, the producer, like all these different hats. Like, you know, I don't, you know what?
no,
Let's segue into our last. Let's segue into our last one because I just thought about something. People tend to think, because we talked about this earlier, about everybody can just, oh, I'm just gonna make me a YouTube, or I'm just gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. The real content creators that's actually putting out real content know that it's not that easy because you got to do a whole bunch of different crap to get it right. Like you
yep,
said, you had to keep up with the advent of cyber, which, you know, on top of working and having kids and everything, and that was a lot. Or, you know, once you get to a certain level on YouTube, looking at your analytics, like, dang, everything down. I need to push these videos. I need to edit. I need to snippet these. What else can I think about? Oh, let me script out this video. Oh, okay. I need to get my backdrop and stuff better. I need to do this and that. You're constantly researching, how do I get better? How I make thumbnails get better? How I make my voice get better? How do I get more people to watch? Like all these different things that go into it is not as simple as if we were just talking about some stupid stuff. I can go talk
yep.
about some celebrity stuff and get views. But
Man,
when you actually trying to put stuff out, and it's just one part, it's not even Oh, okay, I gotta do this consultation. I gotta meet this client. I gotta do this resume. I gotta do this and that. Oh, I gotta finish my ebook. Oh, I gotta develop this course. Like all different crap that we are
Oh,
working on.
I got a wife and kids. Let me go spend some time with them.
Oh, no, not even that. This one we didn't bring up because we was talking about it so much earlier. Oh, I got to study for this certification that I scheduled that I got to take on Wednesday. that I,
Yep.
like all
Yeah.
this different crap like you got to do. You know what I'm saying? Because I think that's what it is. People always look at, oh, well, maybe they shouldn't be getting paid as much. Like, we got to do so much mentally to stay on top of the game to make sure we can keep on getting paid. I'm like, what do you expect? Like stuff keep on changing. You can't. It ain't like no offense to blue collar because I come from a blue collar family, but you can't just put your hat on the shelf.
Yeah.
Like you got to
No, I
keep on
mean,
getting better.
so for example, I just talked about transitioning into API security and API pen testing. A few years ago, that there was I wouldn't say it wasn't a thing, but it wasn't its own entity, right? It was
Right.
a subset of web app pen testing. So if you came across an API, it was like, all right, whatever. Now APIs are prevalent. APIs account for 90% of most web applications out there. And I think Gartner predicted that APIs are going to be the most frequent used attack vector for malicious attackers, right? So now what happened?
Shoot.
Everybody that whole thing transitioned. Now we got to move over here. Look at the cloud, right? Everybody
Yeah.
was looking at on-premises servers and stuff like that. Then the cloud came, and now everybody's like, "Oh shoot! Now I need to learn how to move to the cloud." So it's constant training and retraining and staying relevant. Because one thing you can't do. I mean, what's more what is Moore's law? Moore's law is that all technology becomes relevant around 18 months.
Right.
You should follow that same mindset.
And I think it's got a little bit quicker now.
Yeah, but you should follow that same mindset in tech in your tech career.
You got
So
to.
if things are ever changing, you need to be ever changing with the changes that's happening. Otherwise, you're gonna fall behind. What good is someone who says I'm certified in Windows Server 2012 when now that certification don't even exist anymore and everything moved to the cloud? So now you should be Azure certified. So now you
Right.
done made yourself obsolete. So
Right.
that's
And
that's one thing. Go ahead.
I was gonna mention something real quick when you brought up the API thing. It was something small but simple. But I was like, shoot, people getting hacked now by scanning QR codes.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying. So you 5 years ago that wasn't a thing. Now you have to worry about that technology. You have to worry about we're talking about moving into the metaverse. What
That's
challenges
I
is that?
think metaverse, Internet of Things, security, like all these
What
different.
challenges is that going to bring? You know what I'm saying? But to create the content around it, um yes, it's really difficult because like I said, it's a niche space. So people who are looking to YouTube on, like you said, the latest gossip or whatever, they're not going to stumble across cybersecurity stuff, right? Whereas I can go on YouTube and I can see highlights from a sports game or whatever the algorithm desires. But if you're not someone who's interested in tech, our content will never fall on your front page of YouTube unless we go super viral. And usually then it's an anomaly, it's a glitch in the matrix, right?
Right. Or you got
Um,
to be a pretty girl. I'm just saying, man.
yeah, but you know, and
I
then
mean, woman. I'm sorry for the people come from me. Pretty woman.
and then you have to, and then let's deal with the trolls. So even in our niche space, in the small audience that we have, a lot of that audience is also troll stuff too. So now you got to deal with that nonsense. So there's a very small subset of a very small subset that actually find the stuff that we do helpful or entertaining or whatever. And
Right.
yeah, like you said, it's a lot of work. Like you might find yourself recording for 2 hours, and then when you're done editing and cutting it down, you probably have what, a 15-minute video?
No, not only that, you might be recording for 2 hours just to find out the sound ain't come on the video
Yeah,
or the
right.
video didn't play.
Yeah,
That
and
stuff be so
try.
demoralizing. I said, I'll just try tomorrow.
Oh yeah, I can't tell you how many times I'm like, I've done videos, and then I'm like, wait, what? I wasn't even, the camera wasn't on. Forget it. Like I got content. I literally have content sitting there, either stuff that I was waiting to edit or stuff that I just gave up on. And then you have content creators like shout out to Caleb, Studio Sec. Like I don't know how he do it. He every time I turn around, anytime I think about putting out content, he already got a video out on it.
Hey, that's me. Like, but you know what though? He's young, and I think he don't have kids yet.
Yeah,
That's how they do it because Dayspring is the same way, man. I'm talking a day, sometimes
oh
late at
yeah,
night.
yeah,
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 man, I'm working on this cloud thing, or he's always working. I was like, so that's the hard thing is like, shoot, you got babies like right now. Like I already sent the bat signal, like, hey, I'll probably be wrapping this up by like 6:30 ish, because you know what I'm saying.
Now I
It's
was
just
talking to
tough.
now I was talking to John Brett about that on one of my episodes. I said, man, I feel like we in a young man's game now. Right?
That's what I feel like.
I feel like the grind. Like another reason going back full circle to what we were talking about putting in the work. If you put in all that work from now you only have to work about what's in front of you. You ain't got to worry about building anymore. Because if I started from now and had to build and do that grind now, I don't think I would. It's sustainable for me,
Yeah,
right?
it'd be super tough because I
Yeah,
know the brief time when I wasn't with my kids briefly, I had so much time. I record, do whatever. But you know, as soon as like everybody's together, it's like, okay, let me make sure they sleep.
yeah,
Uh that's why like most of the time I will try to record when it's night. I'm like, that's the only time they sleep. So sometimes, you know, as people could tell you that they talk to me, it's like, man, this dude always working like 3 in the morning. I'm probably going to sleep, waking up for like 7 or 8, you know, work because
mm,
I mean, if I don't do it then it don't come out. You know what I'm saying? I told you I already got like 2 episodes that's already this gonna make number 3. So I just record and sit on and then put out or figure out how I'm gonna market them. So man, you know, it's cool, but I actually enjoy it. I welcome the trolls. You know me, that's the reason why we're gonna touch on this why towards the end. It's the reason why I kind of took a step back from Twitter because I welcome the trolls. I live for that. I live for all the trolls messing with my friends.
yeah.
Because
Professor Black Ops? I want all the smoke. Like,
right, like I live with all that because you know I've noticed they don't say nothing to me or you or JB or whoever. They always mess with the women because they
yeah,
feel like they're easy targets. They're really not easy targets, but they feel like, you know, these trolls they're superior or this or that. But when I welcome it, you know, when I say I'm ready, you know, I don't hear a pin drop. So
uh, they'll try it. Some of them try it, and then but then most of them, yeah. Once you kind of stand firm, and it's like, all right, so what's up? And it's kind of like, all right, they don't have that same energy. But I see the same thing you talking about, like especially with the women. Like even when I'm on my podcast, I notice I'll get a lot of downloads or dislikes because of who the guest is, right? Or I'll have people questioning their credibility, like, oh well, what certifications do they have that they can speak on it? And to me, I think it's stupid and it's closed minded because you know there are some great women in the field that I've learned from and
100%.
that you can learn from, and are shining examples of how to do things the right way. I'm gonna keep it a buck. Like if we probably listen to more of the women tech folk, we'd probably be in a better space right now.
Oh no, that's facts. I want the women on all my teams because they find anything. I've been telling, you know, my black ladies, hey, listen, y'all, as much as y'all lurk and stuff like this, come get in cybersecurity, man. Like companies with info would be safe.
Oh
Like
yeah.
for real.
Yo, you get a couple of them on some open source intelligence.
Man, what? But like to what you said about the women guests is like I remember I'm a mod on shout out to Josh at Keep It Techie. I'm a mod on his channel. And he had a particular guest that I guess I don't well, I really don't have nothing against him. I guess they don't see eye to eye to me. But it was somebody, you know, acting weird in his chat with her. And I, you know, I muted the message. I was like, why are they trying to bring this stuff to this man? That's one of the reasons I don't like to like live stuff too, is because people like that can do something and probably, you know, set off your guest the wrong way or something, and then you spending time on like BS, you know. So one of the things I try to sometimes tell a lot of people is like, you know, don't read the chat. I'll put something up, it's a question. But other than that, you know, if it's not conducive to the conversation, I probably won't show it. or try to
Man,
like address it.
on my show, I tell them straight up, like, listen, you can ask anything, but keep it clean and keep it respectful. And I'm not, listen, I'm not backed by no corporate entity, and I don't have no sponsors, so I will
Right.
maintain that energy. That's one thing I feel like if you're gonna be a guest on my show or on my platform, I'm gonna protect you, against that. And yeah, some people, some comments don't get read, and then others get called out. Like I had one where someone in the comments was trying to, like, I guess, shoot they shot at my guest, and I was like, they're like, yeah, she's beautiful, she's this, she's that. I'm like, yeah, and I bet her husband thinks so too. Like, be respectful.
Mhm.
So
Right.
we
Yeah,
gotta
man.
do a better job. We gotta do a better job of protecting those marginalized people in the community. Otherwise, they're not gonna want to be in the field at all or speak to their experience. And honestly, they're holding themselves back, and it's gonna be a disservice to not only them but to the tech community in general. Because now you're gonna have these people who don't want to speak because they feel like they need to fight for their existence. And I know how that felt when I came in and I started doing content creation, and people were like, well, oh, you're doing you did a walkthrough on how to pass a G pen. What qualifies you to speak on it?
I got
The
the
G
G
pen.
pen.
I got the G pen. I got the CISSP. Um, too many times we're fighting for our own existence to be at someone's table, and it's like, you know what? Enough of that. Either you gonna not bow down, but either you gonna get with it, or we gonna build our own. And then when we build our own, you're gonna complain about that.
I think
So
that's the case now, man. I think a lot of said bump that we are the table.
yeah,
I don't be caring what none of people say. I was like, I think I don't catch a lot of flack. Cause like all my stuff is like, hey, go look at my content LinkedIn and see if I got consistency. And if you want to pull something out that I said that was wrong, come holler at me. And I
me,
think
I feel like being vetted, being I openly tell people to vet me all the time, because now when you vet me and you see, okay, yeah, he is qualified to speak on it, now that just reinforces my knowledge. So I tell people all the time, if you feel like there's something I said that you don't necessarily agree with, cool, go for it. I may be wrong. There may be an easier way to do it, but based off
right.
my experience, this is what it is. And if you want to question it, I let's put our experience up. We can do it. We can do it line by line. I guarantee you, there's most people out there who can't stand with me.
Hey,
And I'm not
that's
being
big
I'm not being
facts.
cocky. I'm not being cocky, but I did the work. So it's like, you want to troll on here, that's fine, that's great. But I'm no but like, going back to the people we were talking about getting in this field and the different points of views. Like, I stopped arguing with people who are trying to tell people how to get into a field that they're not even in themselves.
Hey, man,
Right?
we could probably
Like
go an hour on that. No lie,
you're gonna
like
argue
for
you're
real.
gonna argue with me about my point of view about how to get into a field that I've been in and I've sustained for this amount of time, and you're either just getting in or you're not even there yet. So, I stopped entertaining it, because it's like, all right, cool, I'm gonna go back to my six-figure job, and you're gonna continue to keep lying to the people. That's it.
Facts. And I'm gonna leave with this. I one of my last tweets that everybody started liking, because we're gonna end it out on this, was like I told people they fall in love with these people that ain't ever did the stuff they talking about. So I mean, ain't nothing else to say about it. Like that's what it is. Like, and that ain't just in tech. Like I'm on YouTube heavy with different communities. I see frauds all around. I think I got zero tolerance for that, and I call it out when I see it.
Oh,
I don't no respect the person, whether you
now
a
you know what
woman.
what I've been seeing. Um, a lot of the people, a lot of the loud voices, a lot of the people who have the largest echo chambers, who disagreed with stuff that we were saying, like me, you, shout out to CCIE by 30, Dara J. Footman. I've seen stuff that even her, right, and they have tried. They don't, like you said, they don't come at us directly, but they do sub tweets or whatever. But I've noticed lately, a couple of them are now repeating a lot of the stuff that we were saying months ago, and coming off like it's their own thoughts and their own words, right? For example, the help desk conversation that we've been having, I can count on maybe one hand, how many people were in that scrape saying help desk is crucial, and everybody else was like, you don't need help desk, you don't need help desk. Now I see people, the same people who were clowning it, now saying, oh, help desk is important. So it wasn't important when I said it, but now when you're saying it, right? It's the 50 Cent effect, I call it. Like
Mm-hmm.
when 50 Cent came out and he killed Ja Rule, right? And he was like, oh, because Ja Rule singing all his hooks and all that. And as soon as he pushed Ja Rule out, what 50 Cent do on his next album? He
Start
starts
singing.
singing, on the hooks. It's
Mm-hmm.
the same concept.
Yeah, man.
So
This stuff is
just be
crazy.
just be careful who you listening to, man.
Yeah, man. So man, this has been a good episode. We might have to do a part two, honestly. And maybe it might be live with other people. But where can they follow you at on Twitter and Instagram again? And I also have your YouTube channel in the description as well.
So is djax underscore alpha on YouTube. No, not on YouTube. On Twitter and on LinkedIn. The YouTube channel is just Alpha Cybersecurity. And I actually have a Twitch channel too. It's just djax120 on Twitch. I'm gonna try to do more cybersecurity content, but I'm also trying to get into some gaming content too. Try to break it up a little bit and make things a little bit more entertaining. Probably do some CTF stuff. So be on the lookout for all of that. And yeah, I got a couple other things coming down soon. So
Y'all make sure y'all go sub to him. He got some big announcements on the way.
Yeah, I got one coming up real soon. So be on the lookout for that.
Yeah, man. Appreciate y'all already know how y'all can tap in with me. Y'all on the channel right now. Share this out. I might do some membership soon. Who knows? But at the end of the day, I appreciate everybody for rocking with me. And y'all know the game. Let's get textual.
Yes, sir.